Well,
Yeah, I don't
which
know.
kind of makes me think they're shallow minded, but the thing is, uh, in my opinion,
Yeah.
at least past 3 years, I would say the indie film industry has been really thriving, in my opinion. Like the most of the great films that have been selected by critics or fans. If you look at it, most of them are indie films, or not necessarily just saying artsy fartsy films, but it's just independent filmmaking. And I think that's why now has basically made them to and especially when they see a success like nobody I don't think before I don't think especially these major studios expected after Parasite winning the Best Picture, Neon becoming more successful, especially with the indie film. Again, like I said, like A24, half of the times they probably buy finished product, but they're still investing in new voices, new even I know this one is a little bit off topic, but it's still even they're willing to satisfy the filmmakers to do a limited, of like a 35 millimeter release. So that's the extent that they're willing these smaller studios go and becoming more and more, successful to acquiring these films. So besides just producing it, so that's why, in my opinion, they made them to look maybe yeah, but they thought, oh, the numbers are not matching anymore, and because all these voices in my opinion, they probably looking at them. It just belongs to streaming services. They didn't think, oh, it can have a theatrical and a festival success. And now it's both of them in the past few years have been happening in both aspects. And they're I think that's why perhaps they're trying to find a new way to invest in those new voices. So, but yeah, I just
Well,
Yeah,
I want to
I think there is a market. I think that I mean you cannot just blindly. It's just it would be sad just blindly to say, or if that's the person's mentality, like, oh, there's no market for the new voices. It's just a
I want to
sad
clarify,
thought.
I want to clarify the short-mindedness. So this is my genuine fear. I am 90%
Hmm.
confident that we are at the beginning of
Right.
a new revolution or a new era in film,
Hmm.
or a new wave, let's call it.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh, the 10% fear that I have
Hmm.
is what I would think what we are like kind of referring to as shallow-minded people, what their perspective is. And I
Yeah.
think it's one word that sums it up, and it's
Hmm.
just YouTube. There are new voices emerging. They're just emerging in a different way. And there is a 10% of fear I have that
Mm.
maybe that is the medium, short form, TikTok, YouTube. Maybe this is what the new, this is how people want to, this is the medium that works for new voices. It's a small fear I have, but that's how I think someone who would want to, like
Mm.
try to argue against us that this market is about to come. I think that's the argument. I think. I hope it's not true, and it sounds
Yeah. I hope
silly,
so.
but I don't know. I am also kind of baffled by it.
Mm.
And I'm curious if the irony is like Tubi is doing this. Tubi is a cinephile's nightmare in the fact that there's no ad-free tier.
Right.
Like in that regard, it's like imagine watching Raging Bull and seeing it, or
Yeah.
as much as I am like applaud them for this and for them
Right.
championing, it's an interesting double-edged sword. On the other hand, going to a festival, um, I don't think those movies, most of them, ever see the light of day unless they are, like already have streaming deals or already have A-list actors or
Mm.
have.
Hmm.
So I think this is the right direction. I think. Um, I don't know. I am excited though. And I'm excited that you have like really owned this like the sort of like additional hat to wear. Because I think if we handle this well, we might be able to help be a part of more and more people saying like, look, there are people doing interesting things. Um, a $20,000 goal. I don't know which is, I should say that that's what this whole program is that Tubi gives you $10,000, but you have to earn 10 more from Kickstarter. So, I think they are trying to gear toward films that are like in post-production, but I get the sense that there's an openness to like this is the entire budget of the movie. Um, like just the simple fact that a major streaming service is saying $20,000 is a is an acceptable budget for a movie to put on our service is like that's a whole new level of independent
Hmm.
filmmaking that we're talking about.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's access to millions of people.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's a good thing about Tubi. Like, I mean, I know, yeah, their format is having running ads, but at least, I think they make it accessible to a lot of people, even if, like you said, at least I think that even if someone watches a movie with ads on, or probably it still would make him interested about that film, later on. Like you said, maybe Raging Bull, watching Raging Bull, at least pieces of it, they were like, oh, okay, that's the film that try to learn more about it. And, like how I fell into a rabbit hole that could cause them to too. So at least it makes them or gives them that opportunity to have, which is good. Like I myself, one of my favorite shows, TV shows was Mr. Robot, and for a while it wasn't available anywhere. I mean, I own the physical copy, but at least wanted sometimes, just put it on for on TV, and Tubi had it, and it's just for a quick access. It's great. Like, but like I said, like not a lot of people, I think, were aware of it, of that show, and I think Tubi added more basically awareness for that too. So I think, yeah. So and this campaign that they're running, it, it's going to be beneficial to a lot of filmmakers and new voices, as we keep talking about it. So,
I mean,
and I hope to see more of it, to be honest, like you said.
what I'm interested to see is and I just to like second that, like Tubi right now is without any comparison the best library of stream.
Right, right,
I
right.
mean, like the you and I are both have these like experiences of like access. You move it
Mhm.
to Santa Monica. For me, when AFI released that top 100,
Mhm.
the local library had a big like section where they had like all the, like they had like
Mhm.
that collection there. So I had access to this stuff. Luckily, uh, Netflix, when they were shipping DVDs,
Right.
was like right around the time where like Criterion became available, and you could get those
Hmm.
DVDs through, so it's all about access. And
Hmm.
if you can't afford, I know that Criterion has a streaming service now, but like
Hmm.
Criterion DVDs are very expensive.
Hmm.
Seeing I mean, Tubi has like this enormous like foreign classic library.
Right,
And they have
right.
all these great movies on there. And now they're also going to champion
Yeah.
it's very interesting.
Hmm.
I
I
I
agree.
wonder if those two things will come together. It's going to be very hard to like uh they're doing classics, they're doing
Right.
blockbusters, like and now indies as well.
Hmm.
Is it all going to
Hmm.
exist on the same platform? That feels like a tall task.
Yeah, there you go. Like like we were talking about, like you, you want someone to take a new route, new take, and I think they're taking that a step. So yeah, it makes you at least someone like me at least makes me more, excited and motivated. So
And that's why
yeah.
yeah, that's I don't want to like we talked a lot about this and maybe to like bring it back to like I think you and I were just kind of starting this and I'm excited to get into this with you, but do you have any initial thoughts on like what's our strategy to like embrace this clearly having a good campaign, which we're gearing up for, is going to be crucial. But I'm not on a lot of social media. I get the sense that you are not a big social media person based on previous conversations. So
No, I try to be, because how the like even the actors now saying, like, I try to be active on Instagram, so
mhm.
that's the metric nowadays. Even whole, the film industry in US really looks at, so at least I try to be active on Instagram. Reddit is I know for it just Reddit is a good place to learn about a lot of things, to be honest. So that's the other place. Those are the two places that I stay, to be honest. But other platforms, yeah, I have a stop, using them, or being active on them. So these two, personally, I'm active, but at least I do observe what's happening on those other platforms. And I'm also in a movie club that a lot of their filming people in that movie club, some of them are movie makers as well, but active on the other social media. So I, get the feedback as well. So at least I try to be. I don't want. Sadly, you have to do multitasking. You have to be aware of all what's happening. What's basically the new measurements, or new units of measurements in this industry. This industry keeps evolving, so you have to be on top of it all the time. So that's at least I try to do. Not being active, but try to keep myself aware of it.
Yeah, and maybe I didn't articulate myself very well because I'm not on social media, so I'm not aware of like what your presence is. But I get the sense that you really appreciate like deep, meaningful conversations. And
Yeah.
look, our movie is about a character who has a social media addiction. And so I'm speaking of more in those terms. To me, Reddit is like journalism democratized.
Right.
So I don't. That's a different type of social media.
Hmm.
And I'm more saying it from like a aerial like
Right.
perspective. Uh, but I'm really glad that you are familiar with this because this is going to be interesting to navigate. Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess yeah. I mean, I guess have you like with this like new is this something that you're just kind of are we figuring this out as we go along or have you like I know you've only taken on this role very recently now that we've talked about this whole like uh potential way for us to bring our movie to the world um does this affect like how you approach this like new hat you're wearing of I guess like post-production coordinator, which is really including like marketing, and you're doing a lot right now. And we're
Um,
and we're making this YouTube video series as part of this,
right. I don't I don't have yeah, I think whatever basically we have planned, the strategies, I haven't thought anything more specific. I think we just whatever I have witnessed myself, I try to basically implement, like these one-on-ones I mentioned. Um, but no, I personally didn't have a specific strategy, but the group meeting that we had a couple days ago, it seems like we have a good notions, and I think we just, if we follow our instincts and let the film also try to uh, get the film done with its core voice, and we stick to that, and we present that to, and I think it would be successful. So um, yeah, I really do think I always basically that's my mentality to stay with the core value of your project and what you're trying to present. And I think to be more truthful about it so that that can resonate better with the audience. So that kind of speaks better to the audience as well. The yeah, I that's my thought. I don't know
Maybe,
if I answered
yeah.
your question.
Well, I think I'm springing this on you like 2 days after we signed this to you. But I guess what I'm trying to, and I'll wrap this whole thing up kind of with saying, the reason that I think you're the right person for this, and I think you are going to have, I can already see it. You are the one who came up with, at least what led to the idea of this very interview right now. So if anybody is watching this, it's because we gave you the task to help us think through, like, how do we go about doing this? And I think most people would start to think like kind of more gimmicky. And I don't really, I'm very uncomfortable like kind of presenting myself or trying to sell myself. But when you said like just have like a conversation, like podcast style, I was like, you know what, that's the one thing that I completely feel comfortable doing. So I think
So,
you already have shown that you're going to offer something truly unique to this, and because you are so philosophical about this whole conversation that we've had about like what might be changing in this landscape, um, really makes me think that you're gonna have a breakthrough at some point, I think.
I hope so. But kind of again going back to your project,
Yes.
especially that we were talking about this whole process. How did you end up doing the casting? Did you also use Mandy, or what were you
No.
looking at?
That is a good question. Uh, I very much made this movie with like, okay, so um I might require a little bit of like context here, is that I did try to
Hmm,
make a movie a couple years ago, and it was a little bit more complex.
hmm,
Still, like, I have my own equipment that I've had for 10 years, and so I know inside out. I've done a lot of like marketing videos with it. I've done a lot of filming with it where I've truly kind of learned to become like a one man show where
hmm,
I can use this camera, record sound, set up lights really quickly. Um, and so I've been doing that for 10 years, and that's how I knew that I could like kind of just apply that to a feature, um,
hmm,
and make it have a nice aesthetic. Like, I have nice lenses, and the equipment I have is good that I've acquired over the decade. It's just not the type of equipment you would think could be done with like a feature could be made with basically one actively working crew member, with equipment, because we only had two crew members, and
hmm.
my wife and my brother-in-law, and
Exactly.
and Tanya was really, she was production design and production manager, so she was always getting meals, and like she was doing a lot where, really Rupak was kind of the only one to help me out with equipment, with setting up lights, with getting everyone mic'd up, and it's just, it's the type of thing that where you'd really expect a lot more people involved and people with knowledge in film. But I got very lucky that I just had like a really, really great team of people. So to get to your question, how is this cast? Um, I wrote this specifically with people in mind.
Hmm,
Um, so uh, let me think of like the best way to say this, because it didn't turn out the way that I thought it would. But I did leave, again with that like mentality of like nothing is going to stop me from making this. And then a lot of this came from that movie that kind of fell apart a year earlier because I realized there were just some elements that were not I was not prepared to like um have like a backup or continue forward. It was just a little too complex, a few too many locations,
Mm,
characters, too many moving parts that I just couldn't keep track of, and then ensure that it was going to get made with the resources that I had. Um, but with this movie, it was supposed to be three actors in a house. I wrote the three parts for three specific people. Two of them ended up not being able to act in it, personal reasons. Um, they're like very, very close friends, and they just simply, one had health issues, and one, nobody got paid for this. Everyone is getting equity, and that is a part that really I hate that is the way that we have to do this. Um,
mm,
and I'm hoping that like this, that's another thing that we could dig deeper into, like how that previous conversation, but uh, knowing all of this, I assumed it was just going to be friends. So I
mm,
wrote this for three friends, and my wife and my brother-in-law and my whole crew. Like it was something where it was okay if I didn't have to feel like I was asking people to work for equity because it was just a bunch of us getting together and doing this. But I mean, everyone involved is my friend. They're just not, a couple of the people are not the people I originally intended to be in it. So the role of Charlie, uh, I, the my friend who I wrote it for wasn't able to be in it, and so I had to start thinking about like uh, who to get. And at no point in this process have I ever been thinking like auditioning.
mm,
So Mandy.com didn't. I'll get to that in a minute because that didn't even cross my mind.
mm,
So well, let me start with Chris because he's the one person who did actually end up being in the movie who I wrote the role for. And I hope that this movie presents Chris to the world and because he is just I think so effusive in this movie and charming. And he's a little bit of a local celebrity. He does like open mics like three times a week. When we were filming in Bethlehem at the Funhouse, um, uh, we couldn't we couldn't like film for more than a few minutes without somebody coming up to Chris and like saying hi. Uh, Chris and I go way back, but I really bonded with him when I was in grad school at Lehigh in Bethlehem. He was
mm,
working on campus, and I remember like the moment I was like, this guy needs to like uh, there is something about him that like I feel like the world needs to see, and the filmmaker in me started back then. I think I wanted to make a documentary about him. Chris and I have been talking about working together for a very long time. But the thing that made me realize it was um, he was working at the coffee shop on campus, and I would be there a lot, and I would just come like, hang out with him.
mm,
And I drink a lot of coffee. I was sitting there maybe writing or reading. I was in grad school for English. And everyone that came in, staff, college students, like the faculty, like just everyone knew Chris. And Chris, like, it wasn't the conversations he was having were not like surface level. He was like,
mm.
he knew who was on vacation and what they were doing last week. And it was just like absolutely amazing to me that like how it was a type of socializing that I had never seen before. And I found I was just like really it struck like a chord with me. It was a very beautiful thing to witness. And I knew I wanted to work with Chris. And so I'm so glad that he uh we finally got to work together. And for if this does turn into a career, I I have I'm pretty deep into the next script, and I feel like I'm writing Chris like the role of a lifetime. I'm really proud of that, and so I hope we get to keep working together. Um, the role of Travis, I wrote for another friend. It's like semi, not really based on him, but it was written for him. So like, if you read my script, you're gonna see it wasn't written to show anyone because I kind of wrote it for these people.
Mm,
And he wasn't able to be in it either. Uh, and that was just really like he wasn't able to take like a week off of work. We couldn't find like a good scheduling. So for him and Charlie, Travis and Charlie, I had to find two people. So I went basically just into like who do I know who acts? Um, and Trevor, who ended up playing Travis, acted in a VR film. All right, so I worked in VR for a little while in New York, like like 5, 6, 7 years from now. So when we were filming, yeah, it'd been like 4 or 5 years ago. And like I had access to VR equipment, and like the filmmaker me, I didn't. I was never a big. I was like, I never really thought VR was going to take off or like part of that. I just kind of fell
mm,
into that work. But I had access to 360 cameras, so I was like, I'm going to take one home this weekend and just make a short film. So I wrote like a little script. It was terrible. But I needed two actors, and uh, Trevor was one of them that I basically it's a mutual friend um,
mm.
who also introduced me to Joe Bertolazzi's music, who's the composer. And so I don't know, Trevor and I became friends, and he was great. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I can convince him to do it. Because he's in New York, and a lot of the people I was writing this for, it was just everyone was here, and it would have been a much simpler film. But everything kind of just worked itself out in this weird way. And so Trevor agreed to come on board, even though it took some convincing because he used to want to be an actor, and he has had acting experience, but he gave it up. And I think we actually kind of bonded in the fact that like I had given up on filmmaking, and I think he also had that fear of like I don't want to like flirt with this like dream of mine because I don't want to feel that like failure again.
He's so good.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the part like that I think was one of the most beautiful, and I think everyone can attest to this who was on set. Um,
Mm,
First of all, like Trevor was just like such a good person to have in terms of like
mm,
building camaraderie. He's very vulnerable and encouraged us to have like deep group conversations where he would just be
mm.
like, at the end of the set, he was just like, everyone tell us you're like what this meant to you, what this experience.
Right.
And what he said was that this movie reignited his passion for acting, that he now like
It's
wants
great.
to act again. I was like that. I was like that is exactly what just happened to me with filmmaking, and I don't know, it was so wonderful. And then for Charlie, Luke acted in my thesis film that I made at NYU when I was 20
Mm,
years old, so we're 15 years ago. I just looked him up out of the blue. I had seen him in a few things over the years. He's been in like some college humor videos. He's in stuff, and I remember like watching things on TV where he would have like small roles. I was like, hey, that's the guy who was like in my movie. It was a terrible movie. I never really even finished, but Luke was fantastic. And for that, I did have a very like robust audition process. Um, so I had already like kind of known that there was something special about Luke. Um, and he's in Atlanta and he's still acting, but he was working as like uh what's it called? Like a fitness
mm.
um or
Instructor or the
like a
the workout thing,
trainer.
the
Trainer.
videos?
Luke
Trainer.
Luke is insanely buff, and we spent a lot of time trying to hide that because I was like, Charlie is not going to be like that buff. So that's why he's always wearing like baggy clothes.
Right. That makes sense.
But yeah, that also took a lot of convincing, because he's in Atlanta. And so he's the one, I guess you could say, like professional actor in this movie. Um, and I really, it was just, we had a bunch of conversations and he agreed to do it. And a lot of our very small budget went to like bringing him out here. And, uh, luckily we got to house all the actors in the Airbnb where we shot the film. And I think that was like one of the key things that made this work is that they all really bonded. Um,
Mm,
and then sorry, this is nobody's really asked me this, so I'm glad that I get to tell this. The last person is Tim, and Tim is he worked with me at Google. He's been working at Google for a very long time, and we worked in VR together. And then he started working in AI. And so I wrote this script and I was like, I should ask Tim how to do
mm,
this character. I didn't know Alan was going to be a human, like a human actor. I wasn't
right.
sure. I really wasn't sure how to portray Alan.
Mm,
So I just wanted to talk to Tim and be like how do I make this work? Um,
mm,
and he pretty quickly, I think, was like the best thing to do is to just get someone on a video call. And we kind of, this was like over many conversations. Tim is like, he's just such, again, like I just had the best people working together. He was so supportive, like really, really wanted the best for this. He was always very, very supportive of the work I did, even though it was like a blip in my life. Like he's just always been very supportive of me. And I think even when I was doing like marketing videos for Google, like I could tell that he I think like saw something that I think takes a special eye, um, that allowed us to like connect in this way. And basically what happened is he convinced me that like kind of it should be just an actor. And then I was like, well, who's the perfect actor for this? It's going to be you. Like you understand AI, you're working in AI, like you're going to bring a level of this that I can't even write. And he did. He nailed it. And there are so many moments I can tell you that like words that like weren't like uh I can't remember right now. Bayesian reasoning, and there are like AI terms that I had no clue about. And he's like, "Oh, well, this is what he would say." So like Tim totally brought the character to life. And the only other thing I'll say about Tim is, I think he's quite camera shy, and we talked about this, and I think part of what made his performance so powerful is like he was in like a dark room by himself, like upstairs away from everyone for this, like for a lot of the shoot, because he's on this video call. And so he's if anyone's watching this, like look at like our behind the scenes photo of Tim's setup, because he's just like strapped to this. He like couldn't move. um and we had
what?
to communicate with him was so difficult. We had to tell him his eye lines. He couldn't see what was happening. So
Right,
it's
right,
just
right.
like he's acting like
Hmm.
an abyss. Um, so yeah, I know that's a lot, but it's everyone has their own really fascinating story, and it just like it all just came together beautifully.
It's just crazy to me how he also delivered the emotional parts,
I
Tim. Like,
know.
it's just no, since I was a small part of the editing, but the footage I watched, like, yeah, I was really shocked at how much like he was able to bring not just the technical aspect of his performance, but all the emotional part. And what I like about Luke also, like, it's crazy that how I was sometimes trying to mix and match shots and how consistent he is. Like that's kind of sometimes, a lot of times actually, are rare an actor being able to do take after take to bring even timing, like how he would time, how deliver his line, like literally, which would help you to use different sounds if you wanted, or if you're trying to do a montage thing, like how his performance was consistent within different takes. That was yeah, that was Cool. And
I have to like just like add too about Luke. This movie could never have been what it was without him because um he not only like gave it his all, you're talking about like
mm,
Tim's emotional performances. I mean, you have to keep in mind like I am basically the DP, the gaffer,
yeah,
I'm doing so much. I want to be the type of director that just gets to work with actors and
right.
um while I did have that opportunity, and we did get to rehearse a lot, which was nice, but a lot of it was over Zoom. Uh,
Mm,
um, Luke not only like gave it his all, but he really was like I don't I think Tim would agree with me that like Luke's performance and like rehearsing anytime there was free time and like coaching everyone. Like he was
oh,
basically like
that's
an
great.
acting coach on set for everyone else.
Mm, mm.
He was like a director's dream for like this. Um,
Right.
and I think like yeah, I think Luke not only delivered an amazing performance, I think he is largely responsible for
Mm,
the really
others.
powerful performances of everyone else in this movie. I
Mm,
think everyone will agree to that.
that's
Uh,
great.
yeah, he's going places, and I don't know. It was just a great group that I hope I get to work with all of them again. There was a special bond there on set. And what's really exciting now is that I feel like production and post-production are starting to merge. And I think
Mm,
you, Julia, and Steven really embody a lot of that like special quality that we figured out on set. And now these worlds are coming together and we finally have our like team. And just to like get to what you're saying about Mandy, I remember Mandy when Mandy.com, like when I was out in LA, I didn't even know like what people did. And I'm so glad that I asked my brother because I posted on Reddit, and the responses I got were not great. Um, thank God that I posted it on Mandy because I got to meet with like 40 plus editors who were all like willing to work on this. Like I didn't know like people would even like again, like you have to remember, like I thought I was going to edit it. I didn't think I was gonna
right.
be like asking people to work for like almost a year for equity. And I feel terrible about it, but there were so many people who like not only were interested in doing this, they really connected with this movie, and it gave me with my cut of the movie, which I don't even think was like will do anything near justice to what you guys are going to do with it. Um, but it really gave me the validation that I needed to be like, I am going to see this through. Um, so that was the beginning of that. And it was a very long, arduous process where I had to like make a lot of difficult decisions and I met with a lot of people. And it took a long time for me to get to like it's Steve and Julia Saham are really like the core post production team. And luckily, my brother is there to advise us. But yeah, it's it's been a long journey, and you came a little bit late into the journey, so you haven't even seen like that. But like I hope you realize how much you've brought like into this. You came at a time where I think everybody needed you, your voice. Um,
I don't know about that, but I think a lot of people, yeah, a lot of you already done the lifting, so I'm just here to assist you guys. But yeah, I'm just like I said, I'm glad that being part of the team and helping you guys out.
Well, I think that humility that you have with the fact that you are also like a hard worker and willing to kind of take on any task, everybody sees it, and it's been truly like it's really helped the team, which is a good
Thank
transition
you.
to I think I've done this for everyone where I've posed people to ask questions, and so I think there are a couple of questions for you. we'll wrap up with these, unless there anything else you wanted to.
No.
So, Tanya says, what classic movie does The Big Break remind you of?
Big break?
This is something I don't even know how to answer this.
Oh man. Hmm. Well, the thing is, I automatically always go. It has nothing to do with it, but because established by him, the single location was I always go to Hitchcock. So I just that was his he goes to. He always preferred to do it. That's why he was able to do a lot of films because that was his preference. He like wrote he literally if he could he wanted to do the whole movie as a oneer. So whenever I notice a single location film, I automatically think of Hitchcock, but I'm not necessarily a specific film of his, but yeah, classic film. So so yeah, that's the director I would think, but I don't know if I would have a specific film to be honest. So um yeah, yeah, that would be
I don't, yeah, I'm trying to think how I would even answer this. I'm like, I don't, I feel without getting like too deep into the weeds about this, like maybe part of what hopefully is happening right now is that I think when I made this movie, I think I thought it was going to be like, it was going to feel like I very stylized. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know, maybe like sort of like Jim Jarmusch or something. Not
Hmm.
that that's like classic, but like I don't even he you could go back further and find elements of that earlier on. Um, or even just like if you really want to go classic, like Robert Bresson, like just working with non-actors, like that's effectively worked. But
Right.
the style like is totally off. I think the really thing that was interesting that happened because of these performances was that I realized that this was not supposed to be stylized uh, in the sense that I thought it might feel,
Hmm.
because the performances are so organic that I think it's I really respect people like Sean Baker and the Safdie brothers who are kind of doing this like new type of realism, and I really struggle to find it in classic cinema, and it makes me excited that I feel like there is like a new type um of filmmaking happening right now, and I hope that we're a part of it. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
what Steven asks, what film or films help push you to become a cinephile?
I
And
guess I answered that. So
what's that?
I think I answered that. So
Yeah, you did, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
the Scorsese
you
and
said what did it for you personally?
huh?
He, if I analyze this question, you were talking about like um if it maybe I'm misunderstanding, but like I think what Raging Bull was for you, I had a similar experience like Taxi Driver, but this is a very
Right.
like personal experience that I don't know that I would say what film or films help push you to become a cinephile. If I were to, I don't know that I would recommend the movies that affected me to somebody who I was encouraging to fall in love with film. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, I think it does, but yeah, well for me, no, I would but yeah, besides those two films that maybe cinephile um yeah, I think like I said when we moved to US that was when my brother and I started watching a lot of movies, but and that non-linear storytelling definitely made me be, I think wanting more and becoming more I guess cinephile, but yeah, Pulp Fiction, Seven, Fight Club, a lot of 90s movies, I guess, back there. Usual Suspects, Heat. those, I guess, made me become a cinephile, like be wanting to watch more movies. And at the time, especially, um, kind of like you, my brother loved Taxi Driver, so he started getting all the Robert De Niro movies. That's how I got into Raging Bull. So then I wanted to become learning more about. Then at that time, then instead of going in the phases of actors, then that was me becoming going into the rabbit hole of like directors. Like after like all of a sudden I would watch a week of David Lynch, or or I don't know, Kubrick, or stuff like that. So like trying to find the filmmakers, but yeah, I think those were the core of the movies. Like I said, especially when I was a kid, RoboCop, and Dumb and Dumber, Terminator 2, and some of the Bruce Lee movies definitely had a big impact on me. But yeah, so I think
My
that those were the movies.
my one little anecdote about Taxi Driver is one of the few films that um, affected me like later in life. Uh, and the profound experience I had with it was not the first time I watched it. It was when I was living in LA and I felt a profound loneliness. And I was like,
Hmm.
this movie captures loneliness
Uh,
in a way that I have never seen when I was living that like in my 20s.
I think
So
that was my
that's
brother's feeling too.
yeah. But I had seen it when I was younger and it didn't have that effect on me. So but I also just to expand that is I had recommended to Steven like to watch Eraserhead because I was like, well, we need to really talk about sound design for this movie. I'm not a huge fan of Eraserhead, but I would say like to become a cinephile, like here's a good example of how like it's a great movie if you want to understand sound design. Um, so I there is an element for me where I would not necessarily recommend like my favorite movies. But the one thing you said that I think I would agree with is if you find a voice you like, watch everything they've done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. At least most of it, if you can,
As much
some 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 directors like Sidney Lumet has a lot of films, but he doesn't get praised. But he has a lot of great films in his filmography, and people should definitely check him out as well. So, like you said, if you like your voice, definitely check out their other work.
yeah. I think that is like that's how you become a cinephile. You watch movies for auteur. Like
Right, right, right.
okay, so and what are your top three underrated films that should get more appreciation but don't?
I don't know. That's so tough.
Yeah.
Underrated there. I feel like there are so many of them. I don't know. I feel like I need to look at my own movie look collections. I know some of them, but I don't know if they count as like I don't know classic or it's yeah, like I think like a lot of Criterion movies, like maybe a lot of people, I most of them, a lot of them are underrated, to be honest. I feel like especially in I just think especially in America, I think in Europe it's not an issue, to be honest. But I think in the US, people should get more comfortable watching foreign films, and they stop whining about subtitles, because like if you go in Europe, it's such a normal thing. A lot of their theaters show movies from different languages, from different countries. Their festivals are like that, and you just learn a lot more about not just the storytelling, but also you learn about cultures, about like different actings, different choices. It's so I don't know. I think foreign films are underrated. So yeah, watch more foreign films.
Yeah. Uh, I think I'm just also answering all your questions because I just enjoy talking to you.
Good. Thank you.
This is why you're part of this team. This is probably going to be the longest.
We'll do a two-part, like we cut it in half.
No, no,
It's,
let it
yeah,
let
it's okay. It's okay.
let if anybody's actually watching this to this point, then we've done something right. But you and I have bonded on Taste of Cherry, and I wanted
Right.
to point something out as like just because I brought up Taxi Driver, which is like that's a movie I saw at the right time where it like connected with me in that
Yeah.
moment. Taste of Cherry is the exact opposite in the sense that like when I saw that maybe when I was like 17 or 18, I don't think I'd ever seen
Mm,
anything
wow.
quite so um like I didn't
Different.
different. Yeah, like I mean at its surface it's just kind of like a guy driving around and
Right.
there's more to it, but I can't think of a movie that has like um uh it's funny. I was talking to Tanya about this earlier today, but just like just basically the what movies can do, and
Right.
one of the most powerful things they can do is uh, they can get their like hooks or claws into your brain, and like
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
live there your whole life. And Taste of Cherry is one of these movies that just like I think about it more than almost any other movie. And it's just so weird. It's the type of movie that like it's taken me 20 years. Like or every year that passes, I appreciate it more just because I think it just comes up. I don't think about Taxi Driver much. I just watched it at the right time. Taste of
Hmm.
Cherry, just like every once in a while I think about it and like I can't believe like I saw that 20 years ago and I still am thinking about aspects of it. So I don't know if that's I don't know where I'm going with that, but I just showing like
Left a good mark. Yeah, it's underrated. You should watch it. Yeah.
I or maybe what I'm trying to say is like sometimes you don't know what films are underrated because
Yeah. Yeah.
some of the best movies live in your brain for 10 years,
Right.
and then 10 years from now, you know, you realize which ones are the best because they're the ones that have like stuck to your mind. Um, okay, this is the last question from Julia. What elements of a film do you think makes it an instant hit or classic?
I don't think of a movie in those terms. I think it's a wrong mentality to have. Just think an element of a movie can, because like I said, part of me goes into storytelling. Like I genuinely want to become a filmmaker because I feel like there's stories that they need to be told, and I personally enjoy every aspect and every stage from from the very beginning of pre-production up to the end of the post-production. So, and whenever you're in those stages, you have to focus on every aspect and just try to do the best and make the best out of that. Like, I don't think in those terms, like, I don't like watch a movie or when I'm trying to make a movie, like, oh, if I make this element right, then I have the best. But one thing I think a lot of new filmmakers or college students try to underestimate is the sound. Even the short films that I've edited to try to help people is that try to get a good shot all the time, but they forget about getting a lot of coverage and a lot of getting recording sounds properly. And I think sound is a very critical element that is maybe not mentioned in process of filmmaking that a lot of cinephiles or filmmakers, first time filmmakers, maybe they don't pay too much attention to it or to try to underestimate it. But to make it a hit or like a box office hit, I don't want to become a filmmaker. I think, oh, I want to make a story or be part of a movie that it's gonna be a classic right away, or like you have to service the like I said, I in every aspect or any role that I've had in my uh, filmmaking, if you want to call it filmmaking career, that I always try to service this story, like try to understand the filmmaker or the storyteller what he or she wants to achieve and service the story. And sometimes, that person, and sometimes, you want to use your experience and knowledge to help that person. And if that person doesn't take it, you shouldn't take it personal. You should, otherwise you would actually you would feel hurt all the time. But, but that, yeah, I don't think, yeah, that it's the youngest, I guess, form of art, filmmaking, but and it's a mesh of science, technology, but also of art. So you cannot just be focused on art, but you cannot also be just focused on the technical aspect of it. So it's a you have to really try to find a balance that you try to all the technical aspects and elements to get it right, but at the same time to the reason that a lot of, especially nowadays, people say that AI cannot write a screenplay because they don't have feelings, so and sometimes instincts, like even sometimes I listen to Roger Deakins, and because a lot of things that they do on day is based on the feelings and instincts that they get on set and what they and then they make that decisions, again, helping the storytelling. So that's my mentality. Like that's you have to use both as your tools to help the story to make it better. It's not it's not I don't see it as a cheat sheet of like, oh, we have to check this, we have to if you check these two, it's going to be a box office hit and it's going to be a classic. I don't see it that way. I just but if it comes from the story, if it comes from a very good place with good intentions, with logics, with not necessarily everything has to be logical, but what I mean, like a good heart, and the story has a good heart and a good soul, and you try to make it the best out of it. That I think that's the thing. So I would say, I guess the story first matters, then when we get to production and making sure you're not underestimating the sound, especially the first timers. And post production, kind of be like yourself. Be open, basically, uh, to make changes, to make necessary changes, to make, being open to make when you see the potential, feel that potential, then don't just let it go. Just basically be willing to make the best out of it. And sometimes, yeah, especially with indie filmmaking, sadly, yeah, the post production can take a much longer time than the production itself. But it's going to pay off at the end if you really stick to it and again stay truthful to it. So that's how I see it. I don't know if I answered it or if,
Yeah.
if it,
And I
you
think I
know,
very much agree with you. And I would even just like to piggyback off of that. I would say like the other component of it is cultural because
right.
this medium, you know, uh, yes, the sound is so important. Why? Because sound and music are very important in the world. Aesthetics, which it contains, uh, uh, storytelling. Um, which is integral to everyone and
Hmm.
anything that takes off. Simple way of saying like it's the medium that contains all the other mediums. It contains
Hmm.
every medium that in and of itself is its own sort of has its own culture. And so maybe this is even a bigger thing than like a classic, but um, something that does something that like culturally hits all of those notes at the right time. And I'll just this kind of ties to what I was saying before, where I don't know that I would always recommend a classic, but um, or I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but I'm just going to use Breathless as the example. Godard is my favorite filmmaker. Truly is like the one who like made me understand that really is that like kind of just blew my brain and like oh this can be a movie and I think culturally like Breathless maybe did that to an extent. It invented the jump cut. It clearly like it was culturally like did something that nobody else was doing. And if somebody can do that, like it can really lend its mark. So um, I guess I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying like also like there's something about being culturally uh, in step and not following trends in the filmmaking medium itself, but looking at maybe what's happening in these other cultural elements that film contains and putting them into film is something that has been very effective in the past. But all I'll say is like, I think Breathless is like one of Godard's worst movies in his like first decade of filmmaking. So I wouldn't, and I always feel like people miss out on him because they always look to
Mm.
Breathless. Um, but I don't know. I don't know why I feel like I was going to say more with that, but I guess I was trying. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. I was gonna say like um going back to like a lot of what we've been saying. I think that if there is like a new um era of filming, I think the role of this new era of filmmakers is going to be that their job, and this is where the cultural element comes in. And yes, there needs to be good storytelling, and yes, there needs to be great attention to sound, but they also need to prove that they are human. That's,
Right,
I think, going to be this new job of filmmakers is that they have to somehow prove that they can do something that AI can't. Because
right.
I know for a fact, and I have talked to very, very, very intelligent people, and one of the biggest conversations I've ever had that has like left a sharp impact on me was when I was working at Google. I was talking to somebody who's an extremely intelligent, creative person, and we talked in detail, and he's someone I greatly admire, and I remember him explaining to me how AI is going to basically replace art. And
Hmm.
I think if somebody as intelligent as he is, like truly believes that, and I think there's a lot of people like him, that means that there are a lot of people that I think really believe art is something that can be automated. And so I think that is the new cultural like thing to address. And so
Mm.
I don't know if this totally taps into what we're saying, but I think that if there is a new era of filmmaking, I think that's going to be at its core. Um, because I think there's a lot of people who think that art can be tailor-made for people.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, the story really needs to have that heart and soul that comes from a human.
Yes.
So otherwise, because that's the thing that an AI cannot have or does not have. So, and like you said, it needs to really proves that coming from a human, from a good place, good heart, good soul. So, and gives those values to that core of the film. So, yeah.
These are all subjective things that I think a lot of people have trouble measuring
Right.
subjectivity. Um, we'll see. All right.
Hmm.
Uh, this has been fantastic and
Thank you.
very
It was
long
nice talking
question.
to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'll end it with one last thing.
Okay.
What do you how do you anticipate your next year?
My next year,
What are your goals or anticipations for this next year? With this,
I do really hope, obviously being able to finish my editing gigs, but at the same time, I hope it gives me an opportunity to make my own first feature as well. So we shall see. If not, at least I hope I, keep getting gigs in filmmaking and storytelling so I can help others, until I get my own chance. So I'm okay with that too. Others have done it. But like I said, I'm one of those people just love telling a good story or watching a good movie. So and it's crazy. Like you were asking me about earlier about the film industry or the culture in LA. So yeah, sometimes it's very competitive. Like it's just crazy to me that I just moved away from it and I don't even look at it. And when I watch a great film, I just appreciate it and just like one of my best friend, like one of my yeah, from my movie families in Chicago. He got a gig and he loves the show The Bear, and he got a chance to do a role in that show. And then I'm like, it didn't make me jealous at all. Like it really made me proud. And so yeah, that's what I mean. Like I if I get a chance to help good people and they shine, that makes me proud as well. So that's my goal, to be more involved and dive more into uh filmmaking. So that's I hope I know it. A lot of people, like I said, that say it's a rough time. I should go back to engineering industry, but I'm genuinely happier, more and somehow more optimistic. I don't know, like you said, maybe the deep down, I do really believe that this is the new era of film history that is happening, and I really want to be part of it. So yeah, that's probably it. So yeah, that's how I see it.
If it is happening, I am very confident that you will be part of it.
I hope so. Thank you.
Knowing you. Uh, well, thank you, Sam. This is
Thank you.
great. Um,
Thank you, Avi.
we'll
I
wrap
really
this up.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Really appreciate it. We'll be in touch, and yeah,
we
go
will
ahead.
be talking a lot the next
Yeah,
week.
absolutely. Yes, yes.
Just we'll wrap this up by saying this series, if anyone is watching this stuff, this is because of your idea. So let's hope that like uh, I don't know what I hope. This is
Hope
more
the
me
best.
than anything like I could have thought of in terms of like introducing the how special this movie is for me.
Hmm,
So yeah, um,
that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Very appreciate it.
I'm going to end recording.
All right.